Look at the modern American interstate. It is a high-speed, computer-monitored conveyor belt for the obedient masses. You are moving between corporate exits tracked by license plate readers and governed by a digital system that hates your independence. But there is a ghost road running perfectly parallel to that noise. Route 66. When the government built the massive interstate system, they did not just bypass these towns. They inadvertently granted them a cultural divorce from the modern system. They left them behind to rot, but in doing so, they created the greatest real estate loopholes in American history. Today, these forgotten outposts are the last strongholds of the analog world. For the price of a used motorcycle, you can buy an abandoned 1950s motel or a solid brick gas station where the clock stopped ticking in 1965. No homeowner associations, no digital prying eyes, just you and the high desert wind. Today, we are hunting for 10 Route 66 strongholds where $25,000 buys you an analog empire. Number 10. Two Guns, Arizona. If you want to understand the raw, violent, and beautiful energy of the original American frontier, you drive 30 miles east of Flagstaff into a landscape that the modern map says is dead. Two Guns is not just a town. It is a jagged collection of volcanic rock, deep canyons, and stone ruins that feel like they belong on another planet. It was once a thriving, bizarre zoo and a legendary tourist trap for travelers crossing the Mojave. Today, it is a lawless, silent playground for anyone who has officially checked out of polite society. You are not buying a traditional suburban house here. You are buying the surrounding acreage of sun-blasted, unincorporated dirt for $15,000. The asset here is the total and absolute lack of municipal existence. There is no town hall to file a permit with. There is no local tax assessor looking for an excuse to hike your rates. You can find massive cinder block ruins and abandoned stone fortresses that would cost $100,000 to build from scratch today. You reclaim them, you fortify them, you own them. Living in Two Guns means living on the ragged edge of the Diablo Canyon. The wind howls through the empty, sun-bleached window frames of the old stone ruins, smelling of dry sagebrush and a century of forgotten history. You are surrounded by millions of acres of Federal Bureau of Land Management territory. This is your buffer zone. Your neighbors are the ghosts of the Old West and the occasional desert rat who knows how to keep his mouth shut. You do not hook up to a grid here. That is the point. You haul in your own water in massive black poly tanks, you manage your own waste, and you generate your own industrial levels of power using the relentless, unfiltered Arizona sun. The interstate is visible in the far distance, a shimmering, frantic line of people going nowhere fast, while you sit in the deep shade of a 100-year-old stone wall, cleaning your gear in absolute analog silence. You have traded the manicured, heavily taxed prison of the suburbs for a scorched piece of the true frontier. In Two Guns, you are the absolute undisputed sovereign of your own canyon. Number 9. Glenrio, Texas and New Mexico. This is a geographic glitch that the modern bureaucratic world simply gave up on trying to fix. Glenrio sits directly on the state line, a place where time and law become blurred. One half of the town is in Texas, and the other half is in New Mexico. When the interstate bypassed this town in the 1970s, the gas stations, the diners, and the motels simply stopped aging. They were sealed in the dry desert air like a butterfly in amber. It is a town with a permanent population of less than 5 people. The population density is effectively 0, which is the exact number you want when the world starts to lose its mind. You can buy an abandoned 1950s brick motel or a heavy masonry restaurant building here for $30,000. The strategic value of Glenrio is the jurisdictional confusion it provides. You are sitting in a no-man land between two state governments that have both largely forgotten you exist. The architecture is pure, heavy post-war Americana. We are talking about thick masonry walls, flat roofs with massive overhangs, and heavy steel doors designed to protect travelers from the violent panhandle winds. Because the town is unincorporated and sits on a desolate, remote border, the bureaucratic oversight is non-existent. You are living in a true analog outpost. You can spend your weeks rebuilding a massive carbureted V8 engine in the middle of your living room, and nobody is going to show up to cite you for an oil spill or a noise violation. The summers are baking and intense, and the nights are vast, cold, and terrifyingly clear. You are protected by the sheer, overwhelming desolation of the Llano Estacado. You own a piece of the ultimate American road, and you have achieved a level of privacy and physical security that billionaires in gated communities would kill for. You have vanished in plain sight. Number 8. Texola, Oklahoma. Deep on the extreme western edge of Oklahoma, right where the red dirt hits the New Mexico border, lies Texola. This was once a bustling, high-energy cotton and railroad hub. Today, the population is roughly zero. It is a haunting town of empty brick storefronts, leaning wooden barns, and a silence so heavy you can hear the freight trains rumbling 10 miles away across the plains. You can buy multiple abandoned city lots and a solid 2-story brick commercial building on the old Main Street for exactly $20,000. Moving to Texola is a declaration of total and permanent retreat from the digital matrix. The town has no local police, no city council, and no zoning department. The nearest county sheriff is an hour away across the flat, wind-swept plains, and he has much bigger problems to worry about than what you are doing on your dirt. The asset you are hunting for here is the 1920s masonry storefront with a residential apartment hidden in the back. These buildings were constructed during an era of pride, featuring Triple-Wythe brick walls designed to survive the most violent Oklahoma supercell storms. You are buying an indestructible fortress for the price of a mid-range pickup truck. You can park your heavy-duty diesel truck right inside the front of the building, pull down the heavy steel security gates, and live entirely off the books. The local culture is non-existent because there are no people, which means your rules are the only rules that matter within your perimeter. You trade the convenience of a modern grocery store for the absolute rock-solid guarantee that no government agent will ever bother to drive this far into the red dirt wasteland to check your lawn height or your building permits. You have successfully stepped off the board. Number 7. Newberry Springs, California. California is universally known as a hyper-regulated, overtaxed, and politically correct nightmare. But the Mojave Desert has a long history of swallowing authority whole. Newberry Springs is an unincorporated oasis of volcanic rock, ancient dry lake beds, and fierce, unyielding independence. It is famous in pop culture as the location of the Baghdad Cafe, but we are not here for the movies or the tourists. We are here for the massive land parcels and the abandoned cinderblock cabins that the state gave up on decades ago. You can buy 10 acres of raw desert dirt and a weathered, structurally sound concrete block building for $45,000. The environment in Newberry Springs is extreme and demands a specific type of toughness. In the summer, the heat is a physical weight, regularly topping 110 degrees. The wind scours the volcanic hills, coating everything you own in a fine, abrasive layer of ancient dust. But the hidden, billion-dollar asset here is the water. Newberry Springs sits on top of a massive, prehistoric underground aquifer. While the rest of the state of California is fighting and litigating over every drop of water rights, you can sink a private well and access pure, ice-cold mountain runoff buried deep beneath the burning sand. You are living in a sun-baked fortress of absolute privacy. There are no homeowner associations to tell you what color you can paint your doors or where you can park your equipment. You share your property with coyotes, desert tortoises, and people who have officially checked out of the 21st century. You are geographically isolated by the vast, intimidating expanses of the Mojave, yet you are only an hour away from the basic supplies of a major town. It is the perfect tactical balance of survival and isolation. You have claimed a piece of the high desert where the only law is the law of the sun, the wind, and the depth of your own well. Number 6. Erick, Oklahoma. Erick was the legendary home of Roger Miller, the man who sang about being the king of the road. The town has taken those lyrics to heart and has successfully rejected the last 50 years of so-called progress. The downtown core is a perfectly preserved 1950s time capsule that feels like a fever dream. We are talking about old barber shops with manual hydraulic chairs, hardware stores with scarred wooden floors that smell like linseed oil, and a local population that still uses physical paper cash for every single transaction. You can buy a massive, heavy timber craftsman house or a solid brick commercial building directly on the old Route 66 alignment for $35,000. The culture in Erick is the ultimate antidote to the frantic, politically correct, and exhausted noise of the American coasts. Out here in Beckham County, men are still judged by the calluses on their hands and the reliability of the tools in their trucks. The local economy is based entirely on agriculture and hard manual labor. There are no smart meters on the houses transmitting your data to a corporate headquarters. There is no digital surveillance grid tracking your movements through the narrow, quiet alleys. You are buying into a 1960s brotherhood of self-reliance and old-school manners. You can spend your days restoring old machines, hunting the surrounding vast plains, and existing in a place where the modern world is just a flickering, irrelevant image on a distant television screen. The people in Erick mind their own business, and they expect you to do the same with a level of intensity that is refreshing. You are buying a heavy masonry sanctuary in a town that values your privacy more than your tax revenue. You have successfully stepped off the high-speed interstate and into a life where time actually belongs to you. You are no longer a consumer. You are a resident of the real America. Number 5. Amboy, California. If you want to witness the absolute architectural and psychological apex of the Mojave Desert, you drive your truck out to the shimmering salt flats of San Bernardino County. Amboy is not a town in the traditional sense. It is a cinematic outpost that was essentially purchased in its entirety by a single individual who understood that a ghost town is the ultimate private estate. The legendary Roy's Motel and Cafe sits at the center of this sun-scorched universe, its massive mid-century modern neon sign casting a lonely, defiant blue and red glow over the desert floor at night. This is the opposite of a suburb. The population of the town fluctuates between 4 people and absolutely 0. But the surrounding unincorporated land is where the true asset hunter strikes. You can find abandoned 20-acre desert parcels and crumbling cinderblock cabins tucked near the base of the Amboy crater for exactly $30,000. The environment in Amboy is a brutal test of both biological and mechanical endurance. In July, the heat is a physical enemy, a relentless, vibrating force that will warp the plastic on your dashboard and literally boil the fuel in a classic mechanical carburetor. But to an asset hunter, that lethal heat is your greatest security guard. It keeps the weak, the entitled, and the government inspectors locked safely in their air-conditioned offices in Los Angeles. Out here, you are living on the edge of a prehistoric volcanic field. There is no cell phone service. There is no municipal water grid to hook up to. You survive on hauled water stored in massive black poly tanks and heavy-duty solar arrays that thrive in the relentless sun. The silence of the Mojave is so deep it physically rings in your ears. When you sit on your concrete porch in Amboy, watching the freight trains crawl like insects across the shimmering horizon, you realize that you have successfully moved beyond the reach of the digital panopticon. You are living in a high desert time capsule, where the only law that matters is the law of thermodynamics and the depth of your own supply cache. You own the dirt, you own the silence, and you own an absolute privacy that no longer exists in the rest of California. Number 4. Seligman, Arizona. Seligman is often called the birthplace of the Route 66 revival, but we are not interested in the colorful gift shops, the singing barbers, or the tourists taking selfies for their social media feeds. We are interested in the gritty, wind-swept outskirts and the residential parcels that the interstate highway system left behind to freeze in the year 1972. Seligman is located in Yavapai County, sitting at a high elevation of over 5,000 feet. This is high desert cattle country. The air is crisp, the wind is a constant, howling companion, and the people who stay here year-round are fiercely independent and deeply suspicious of outside authority. You can buy a solid 1960s ranch-style home with thick walls or a weathered timber cabin on the edge of town for $45,000. The culture in Seligman is a powerful throwback to an era when a man's word was his binding legal contract, and your neighbors minded their own business with a level of intensity that is refreshing. There are absolutely 0 homeowner associations in Seligman. You can park your entire fleet of vintage diesel trucks in your gravel driveway. You can build a massive red iron steel workshop for your tools, and you can run your cast iron wood stove 24 hours a day without a single bureaucrat knocking on your door to check your emissions. The town sits on the longest remaining continuous stretch of the original Mother Road. When the sun goes down and the last of the tourist buses disappear onto the interstate, Seligman reverts to its true analog nature. You walk into the local tavern, you pay for your steak and whiskey with physical paper cash, and you engage in conversations that have nothing to do with digital algorithms or national politics. You are surrounded by massive cattle ranches and millions of contiguous acres of national forest. You have achieved a level of geographical and cultural isolation that is impossible to find in the modern master-planned suburbs. You are buying a heavy timber fortress in a town that successfully fought the federal government just to keep its name on the map. Number 3. Tucumcari, New Mexico. If you want to live inside a massive neon-lit graveyard of the 1950s, you drive your truck into Quay County. Tucumcari was once the crown jewel of the eastern New Mexico desert, world famous for the neon slogan "Tucumcari Tonight." Today, the town is a gritty, beautiful, and profoundly affordable relic of a forgotten American dream. The main street is lined with massive, solid brick motels and heavy commercial blocks that look like they have not been touched by a paintbrush since the Nixon administration. You can buy a massive 4,000-square-foot commercial brick building with integrated living quarters for exactly $35,000. The true asset value of Tucumcari is the sheer density of its historical masonry. These buildings were constructed during an era of extreme industrial pride. We are talking about 18-inch thick solid brick walls, reinforced concrete floors that can support the weight of a tank, and heavy steel roof trusses. They were engineered to survive the brutal high desert sun and the violent tree-snapping windstorms of the southern plains. Because the local economy has been in a state of suspended animation for decades, the real estate prices have remained frozen in a prehistoric bracket. You can live like a sovereign king in a massive brick bunker for the price of a used mid-size sedan. The culture here is slow, traditional, and deeply skeptical of any outside interference. You do not see people staring at glowing screens while they walk the sidewalks. You see men working on old machines, people talking for hours on their covered porches, and a local government that is too busy trying to keep the basic infrastructure running to worry about your interior building permits. Tucumcari is a massive fortress of Americana. You are geographically isolated by hundreds of miles of empty, flat prairie, yet you have the infrastructure of a real town. You have successfully bypassed the modern housing crisis and claimed a piece of the ultimate American road, built with materials that the modern world can no longer afford to produce. Number 2. Galena, Kansas. Welcome to the lead belt of the American Midwest. Galena is a town built on the heavy industrial might and the grit of the mining era. It sits in the extreme southeast corner of Kansas, at the exact point where the state line meets Missouri and Oklahoma. The history of this ground is written in lead and zinc mining dust and the sweat of hard rock miners. The architecture here is heavy, intimidating, and practically indestructible. The downtown core is a perfectly preserved 1920s mining hub that feels like a fortress. You can buy a solid brick service station or an old masonry warehouse on the original Route 66 alignment for $25,000. The strategic advantage of Galena is its industrial-age zoning and its total lack of modern aesthetic regulation. This is a town built for men who want to work with their hands. If you want to run a heavy-duty steel fabrication shop in your living room, if you want to store tons of survival supplies in your basement, or if you want to rebuild diesel engines at 3 o'clock in the morning, nobody in Cherokee County is going to file a noise complaint. The walls of these old mining-era brick buildings are thick enough to muffle the sound of an earthquake. The people who remain in Galena are the descendants of the men who pulled wealth out of the deep earth. They possess a level of physical toughness and practical common sense that has been completely bred out of the modern suburban population. They do not want your digital receipts, your QR codes, or your corporate loyalty programs. They want physical cash, a firm handshake, and for you to mind your own business. Moving to Galena is a return to the heavy metal reality of the mid-20th century. You are buying an armored sanctuary in a town that values manual labor and absolute self-reliance above all else. You have successfully retreated from the digital panopticon and into a world made of solid brick, heavy steel, and old iron. Number 1. Oatman, Arizona. This is the ultimate dead-end road. Oatman sits high in the jagged Black Mountains of Mojave County, located on a treacherous, winding, hair-raising stretch of the old Route 66 known as the Sitgreaves Pass. To reach Oatman, you must navigate sheer vertical cliffs and terrifying switchbacks that keep the weak, the fearful, and the bureaucrats far away. The town is a living ghost mining camp where the wild burros roam the streets freely, outnumbering the humans. The permanent population is less than 100 hardcore desert residents. You can buy a weathered, high-altitude miner shack, or a rugged stone cabin tucked directly into the rocky cliffs for $40,000. Oatman represents the absolute extreme of American lawlessness and geographic isolation. The summer heat is violent and unapologetic, frequently topping 115 degrees. The terrain is jagged, volcanic, and entirely inhospitable to anyone who relies on modern convenience or a stable power grid. There is no local police force patrolling these mountains. There is no city council telling you how to stack your firewood or what you can build on your dirt. The only rules in Oatman are the ones the locals agree upon over a cold drink. You live in a sun-blasted fortress of rock and old timber. You share your property with the descendants of the original gold mining donkeys and the coyotes that howl in the dark canyons. Because the town is unincorporated and geographically trapped in the steep mountain passes, the bureaucratic reach of the modern state simply cannot get a grip on the population. You are living in a true frontier outpost where the spirit of the original gold rush never really ended. At night, the vintage neon signs of the old hotels flicker against a dark desert sky that is overflowing with stars, and the silence is absolute. You sit on your porch, you watch the desert night, and you realize that you have achieved the ultimate goal of the asset hunter. You have escaped the modern simulation. You have found the road they forgot, and you have claimed your own analog empire. You are finally absolutely alone.